That's exactly how we live. We say I and you, yeah? And we and they. We live as if we are separate from each other. So one day I had this idea that somehow formed or transformed my underlying thoughts about what is life, what is God, that's all about. Let's say you imagine a little balloon. This balloon is everything there is. So it's really important to know it's everything that is. Okay, that's the definition of this balloon. So you know these guys, they have these long balloons. And they take a little part of that balloon and they turn it and they make a little bubble out of it. Now let's take this picture and apply it to our initial balloon. We have this round, beautiful balloon, and which is filled with air. And you take, let's say, from your perspective on the upper left corner, you twist it a little bit and you make a little bubble. Let's say the little bubble has a consciousness on its own. Okay, it's conscious about itself. Yeah? Not about everything, but just about itself as the little bubble. The little bubble, if it addressed itself, it would probably say I. It would say, oh, this is me, I, the little bubble. If you look from the perspective of the big balloon, of course, would say about itself, also I, the big balloon. What would it say about the little bubble? You know, talking about the little bubble, the big balloon would also use the personal pronoun I, because the big balloon, of course, knows I am everything. I am the big balloon, I am the little bubble. Let's imagine we have the big balloon, we have here the first little bubble, and we create here a second little bubble. We have two little bubbles now. So the first little bubble would address itself, saying I, when it talks about him or herself. And it would say towards the little bubble, the second little bubble, it would also say, it would not say I, it would say you. Because these two little bubbles, they experience themselves as being separated from each other. Also, both of them contain the same thing that has initially been in the big balloon, just air. So the first little bubble says I to himself, you to the other bubble. What does the second bubble? The second bubble does the same thing. It says I towards herself or himself, and you towards the first bubble. So what does the big balloon, how does the big balloon address the two little bubbles? Of course, the big balloon would say I, because the big balloon knows there's no difference between me as the big balloon and the two little bubbles. Just the little bubbles experience themselves as separated from the big balloon. And that's a really important thing, because they experience themselves as being separated, whereas they are not. They're the same thing. There is just the big balloon. And the big balloon separated itself into, let's say, these first two little bubbles. One little bubble might be a human, another little bubble might be a fish, another little bubble might be, or might have been a dinosaur, another little bubble might be a tree and a plant, a flower, a cactus, the sand in the desert, the water in the ocean, and the car next door. Yeah. Maybe the little bubbles, they get an idea about the big balloon, and maybe they get a feeling or some, memory or whatever that the big balloon is way bigger than they are. They're just a little bubble. So maybe they would address, as long as they stay in that separate kind of consciousness, they would address the big balloon as something higher than them or something above them. Maybe they would start addressing the big balloon as something they would call God. To explain what the impact on everyday life is, I think, a very important thing. One main aspect of the two little bubbles is that they feel themselves being separated from the big balloon, which in truth they are not. They are the big balloon. And they experience themselves separated from each other, which in truth they are not. They are each other.